Hey, ladies and gentlemen, what's up? What's poppin'? Welcome to Sunday. Fellas. Look, don't get the Sunday scaries today. Have yourself a nice, beautiful day. Spring started yesterday. Today's National Single Parents Day, National French Bread Day, California Strawberries Day. We got a lot of things today that are going on. There is a lot to be bringing awareness to today. So thank you for being here and spending your time on your Sunday. I don't know why I'm still making this weekend content. I woke up and I'm just like, you know what? Let's just put the video out. It's only a 6-game slate. I know that there's games in the afternoon. I'll have projections for those games, but we're not covering the 1 o'clock and the 3 o'clock games. If you want to get my takes on them, they'll be in the projections. The top rated plays will be in there, right? You could use the optimizer, all that type of stuff. But I'm here right now to give you that brief, that quick look at the injury news. The top 12 plays of the day right now for the 6-game slate that starts tonight. Here to smack you around. And then I got to run some errands. I'm going to be making some pasta sauce, the gravy, whichever side of the fence you're on that. I don't give a shit. We're going to be making the pasta sundae today. We'll get some meatballs cooked up and whipped up. Yeah, we're going to be having some garlic bread, fresh Italian bread. We can't wait. I'm going to be making it all today. Me and my girlfriend are going to have a very nice Italian dinner on this Sunday as spring is here, as we're feeling good. We're leaning back. We're rocking. We're popping the collars even. We're going to pop the collar for this show. Fuck it. Let's pop the collar for this show. If you're on the podcast right now, you're missing out. We're popping the collar. It's Pasta Sunday. We got the Vaseline. I can't even imagine right now what people who just hate the stereotypes of the Italians are screaming out right now. Who cares? We're having fun. We're having a good time. Let's get into some of this injury news. Hey. Like, subscribe. Also, hit the notification bell. We go live during the week at 4:30 p.m. East Coast time. We went live yesterday. We'll probably go live today, but again, that notification bell will let you know for sure. Hopefully, you followed the MMA video that we did on this channel yesterday, the live stream, because if you took Kevin Holland and you watched that video, you wouldn't have taken him. And oh, baby. Yeah. He lost. The game theory thing, man. We're here to give you some analytics, some stats, and also game theory. And that's why the tools and the projections and the optimizer and all that stuff is going to be so key. Game theory. I don't give a shit who you think is the best plays on the slate. It all comes down to the ownership. I don't care who you think is the best lineup construction on the slate. It all comes down to total lineup ownership. It all comes down to how you can pivot and get different. It all comes down to contest selection. We got all that and more, baby, right here. Injury news. LeBron got hurt yesterday. They're saying maybe high ankle sprain, which would be pretty sad because it'll take LeBron, the best player in the game, out for 1 or 2 months, and that's sad just for the game of basketball. Willie Cauley-Stein still out for the Knicks. All their guards continue, right? Mitchell Robinson now officially questionable, the center, but Emmanuel Quickley is questionable. Derrick Rose is out. We have Alfred Payton now questionable. Maybe it'll be the Alec Burks night. Maybe all these guys will be back and it'll be nobody's night. Maybe Quickley will be back and he'll be back to normal. We have to wait on some news. Blake Griffin is probable for his debut with the Nets. Does this mean he plays 30 minutes? Probably not. Does it mean he maybe plays 24 minutes and is viable? Potentially. We'll see once we get some more news on that. The Cavs bigs and JaVale McGee is questionable, but then you have Taurean Prince and Kevin Love still going to be out. So what's that going to be setting up for you? More Larry Nance Jr. Ben Simmons, he ended up missing yesterday. He went from probable to out with some knee soreness. We'll see if that's, better today because no Joel Embiid already. Tobias Harris went off, laid his thing down. Hopefully you got in on Prize Picks once that Ben Simmons news dropped because you could have easily gotten the over on Danny Green, 24 points, easily gotten the over on Tobias Harris. Over at that point, it was 44, it went up to 48. Either way, the over would have hit either way. Be sure to be getting in on Prize Picks on those. Cam Johnson is back and probable today, and then the Pistons small forwards, Wayne Ellington and Rodney McGruder are out. Let's get into the top 12 plays now, right? All that injury news, I'll update throughout the day. We'll smack you around with it. You'll get the notifications if you're a Patreon. If you're not a Patreon, I don't know what you're doing. I feel bad for you. You get into the Discord. You get all the tools. Bang, 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 bang. You win some Dollarooskies like some of our fellas last night. We'll start it off. We'll get it popping with the number 12 play in the slate. And then there's a lot of guys, honestly. Between like 12 and 20, so many guys look very similar. So you can just call them all 12A, B, C, all the way down to Z in my fucking alphabet. Can you do that thing backwards? I definitely can't. Chris Paul right now, the number 12 play in the day. Look, it's a nice team total. 112.25. You're going to be getting a 1.18 fantasy point per minute producer. You're getting a Lakers team that is just dismantled, right? LeBron, AD is out. Who is the defensive threats on this team right now? I really don't know. Who you want to tell me is a defensive threat, right? Dennis Schroeder? No, not really, right? Alex Caruso now would increase run off the bench? No, I mean, Wesley Matthews, maybe, but come on. 24 minutes of that's not going to be doing too much for you. I'm giving Chris Paul today 32 minutes of play. I'm projecting him for like 1.15 fantasy points per minute. And with that elite assist percentage, right, we can go over to right now Add More Funds. And this is a free data site down below in the description if you want to check it out. It's Add More Funds. I use it for on-off tools, looking at the usage rates and things like that on the season. Chris Paul's played the second most minutes on this team this year. You get the decent usage, 22%. Booker easily beats him out there. It makes sense. He's shooting well from 3, 38%. Here's his fantasy point per minute production. A little bit skewed from time when Booker was off the court, but here it is. 39.1% assist percentage. This is why Devin Booker is not the same player as he was last year. Booker's barely cracking 20% assist percentage when last year he was in the upper 20s, right? 30%. This year you're having close to 40% assist percentage for Chris Paul, which again, if you watch this channel often, you know your boy loves having another out to your game. An elite assist percentage with a strong three-point shooter that has usage. Even if he's not getting his shots to fall, Chris Paul, as we've seen a couple times this year, can get 14, 15 assists, and then you still find on him he's not crushing your lineups. If anything, he can still be elevating your lineups upward. So Chris Paul, the number 12 play on the day right now. The number 11 play is Pascal Siakam, and they just don't want to change this man's price. Maybe it came up $100, right? You got all these guys coming back. There was some thoughts on, there might be minutes limit on them. Then there was no news. There was no news from Toronto on if Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam and OG would have minutes limit. Turns out that wasn't the case. They had no minutes limit. Fred VanVleet played 41 minutes. He's still underpriced, not in the top 12, but close. Pascal Siakam at $7,200, a 1.3x multiplier over on Superdraft. He played 33 minutes in that first game back. He averages 1.11 fantasy points per minute. I'm projecting him for 34 minutes today in a fine matchup against Cleveland that we just talked about in the injuries. They're down a bunch of bigs today. Give me Pascal Siakam at a low price. Siakam for most time this year has been $7,700 to like $8,200. Now because he's coming back from injury, they're kind of lagging on his price. Siakam will probably be back to $7,700 pretty quickly, if not by the next game. So continue to get this low price point on him at $7,200 fucking Rooskies. The number 10 play in the day, another power forward here, if you will, power forward center eligible player in Lauri Markkanen. But before we get into that, let me tell you quickly about the sponsor of the show, the sponsor of the program, the man, the myth, the legend. It's not any of those things. It's just a business, right? It's just it's just a place. It's just a platform that keeps all 5 of these lights that are coming on right now. That keeps this shirt on my back, this lovely striped shirt, the button down. How you doing? How you doing? Pop the collar. And that would be Prize Picks. You get to take the over-under on single player stats. You can take it on fantasy points, which I personally like. Yesterday, I was surprised. There was only 4 games yesterday, and they still had upwards of 40. There's 5 games if you count the early game, the afternoon game, but still had like 40 props on the board. It was fantastic. They usually start with 8 props in the morning. That's what we're getting right now. You can see them on the screen. You can take the over-under on single stats or fantasy points. Like I said, I like. You can play a bunch of different sports. This is the NBA. March Madness is going on. They have it for that. Esports, a bunch of stuff they have it for. If you want to test it out, I've seen over the last week or so, 90 people, 130 people have signed up. We've had 90 people going in there and getting active and winning some Dollarooskies, which has been fantastic so far. Somebody last night in the Discord ended up taking down $250. Somebody reached out in the DMs and said that they ended up 10xing it and winning $5,000 on a $50 buy-in. So if you want to try it out, you can use the code SAL. I encourage you to do so. If you use that code SAL, whatever money you put in up to $100, they'll match it. So you put 50 in, they'll match it. You put a weird number like 73 in, they'll match it for you. Don't worry about it. They said, hey, says Sal sent you. We got you, my man. We got you. So if we want to look at some of the early props today, as always, I'm going to be waiting for the whole board to come out before I finalize any of this stuff for myself. But if I'm looking at some of the early props right now, the first one that I see that really does stand out to me is going to be Nicola Vusavich right now at 45, the over on that. He's going up against Boston today, who continues to be having Tristan Thompson out, who continues to give Robert Williams run, but not the greatest defender, if you will. From a shot blocking standpoint, fine. Daniel Tice doesn't match up with Nicola Vusavich. Right now, I'm having Vooch projecting out for closer to 50 fantasy points. So if it's going to be a 5-point difference before this number comes up to 46, 47, 48 on the over-under, which I think it probably will throughout the day, I'll take the over on Vooch early on. And if we had to pick another one, there's a couple of them that really do look good. I'm going to be taking the over on 43 fantasy points for Domantas Sabonis. The last time that we ended up playing a slate with Domantas Sabonis was a couple of games back, and Domantas Sabonis ends up coming out there at a 44 over-under. He's been scoring 60-plus points in 2 out of his last 5 games. Yes, you have Caris LeVert, our better producer in the lineup now, but still 43 fantasy points, the over on Sabonis early on. I even lean the under on Jimmy Butler with Bam Adebayo back at 48 fantasy points. That looks juicy, so that would be my third option out of these 8, but let's wait until we get more in throughout the day. But to start it off, Sabonis on the over, a couple of centers here, power forward center Sabonis, and then Vooch on the over 45. I like those two to pair together for a flex play early on in the morning today, or if you want to go with the power play. I encourage you to check it out. You can tail these bets, or you can wait for our live stream later tonight. Everybody talks about this in the Discord as well. It seems like it's very popular, so you can check it out. Thank you for sponsoring the program to Prize Picks. Use that code SAL, SAL, to let them know that you came from me, SAL. That is code SAL. So Lauri Markkanen, $5,500. It's just a buy low spot here. Look, this is not a terrible fantasy point producer, right? He's really over a fantasy point per minute producer. So far this year, he's struggling, 0.97. He's not picking up that many assists. The rebounding rate has been a little bit lower. He's obviously been dealing with injuries himself, but you're getting a buy low spot on Lauri Markkanen. This was a guy who just a couple games back was priced in the $6,000 range. He's only power forward eligible, so the positional flexibility, not as great, but he's averaging 30 fantasy points per game on DraftKings this year. You obviously can't just look at that, but not much has changed in this team. If anything, you have Thad Young starting now over Wendell Carter, but if anything, Wendell Carter long-term is going to be the better rebounder for that team. So Lauri Markkanen's rebounds are going to come up. Like, don't look at these past couple of games when in 2 out of his last 3 games, 2, 7, and 5 rebounds. Like, that is going to be coming up for Lauri Markkanen. He's shooting not great, 36%, 40%. That can definitely increase for a guy playing closer to the basket. If we want to look at Lauri Markkanen on Add More Funds, so far this season right here, you can see Lauri Markkanen. These are the numbers. This is his effective field goal rate and his true shooting percentage. They're in the 60s. That is very good. Why? Because he plays close to the basket. But so far this year, if you want to look at it, he's only shooting over the last couple of games 50%, 40%, 36%, 33%, 44%. It is going to change. He's going to start shooting 50 and 60% as he continues to get just more looks closer to the basket. He's just playing god-awful right now, shooting 4 of 10, right? Shooting 4 of 11 in the past couple of games. That is going to turn around for a guy shooting closer to the basket. He also takes a lot of threes as well for a big man because he can stretch a little bit more, but that effective field goal rate is going to rise up, and now we're getting a bottom number on him. A guy who a couple games back was $6,500, $6,800, $7,100 at the beginning of February, right? There's a lot of upside here in Lauri Markkanen at a buy low spot now against a smaller Detroit team of Mason Plumlee and like Jeremy Grant down low. Inside the top 10, we go to number 9 overall, Colin Sexton. Sexton's usually on Prize Picks, so I was waiting to see him again on there, but he wasn't there. Sexton, what you're getting over these last couple of games is bigger minutes. You're getting bigger minutes for Colin Sexton. So here's the thing. Bigger minutes and production is creeping up for Colin Sexton. He's shooting guard eligible. I love when we have ball-dominant point guards who average over a fantasy point per minute or around there, high usage numbers, and play big minutes, and you can put them in your shooting guard spot. Yeah, that's going to crush a lot of traditional shooting guards, mostly all of them. But 37 and 39 minutes over the last 2 games, you're getting him to score 29 real-life points in back-to-back games. He's had 45.75 and 39.25 points in these last couple of games, shooting 17, 20, and 25 times over the last 4 games alone. Colin Sexton's price point is dropping. Colin Sexton was $7,400, $7,600, $8,100 right after the restart, after the All-Star break, and now he's $7,000 flat, even though he's getting the biggest minutes that he's seen since the restart and producing the best that he has been. And this is even with dealing with foul trouble in a couple of games, 4 and 5 personal fouls in 2 out of the last 3 games. So a matchup against Toronto today, I'm going to be giving Colin Sexton probably 36 minutes, projecting him for slightly over a fantasy point per minute. And if that's the case at $7,000, he's going to project out in the mid-30s for me. If a Prize Picks prop comes up later in the day for Colin Sexton, take it. The 1.55x multiplier in Superdraft is going to be one of the best guard plays today, and his $7,000 price tag is a top 10 play for us on DraftKings. Hey, yo, fellas. How you doing? Number 8 play today, Alec Burks. And this is going to be a lot of ifs, ands, or buts, right? If my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle, as my dad would say. Alec Burks at $5,800 today. This is if there's no Alfred Payton and Quickly. We already know Derrick Rose is still out. If those guys are in, Alfred Payton and Quickly, I don't have interest in any of these guards. If Quickly's in and Alfred Payton's out, I have interest in Quickly, right? So we have to see how this happens. We'll update the projections. But what you're going to get out of Alec Burks is a lot of overall minutes, right? I can probably project Alec Burks for 32 minutes as like a floor if we get these guys out in terms of Quickly and Payton. Then you get Alec Burks to play, honestly, the point guard position, and yes, Frank Ntilikina will play some of it, but the point guard position from a usage standpoint, and he's only small forward eligible on DraftKings, so bada bing, there it is. You get to fill that shooting guard and small forward spot with a weaker player. He played 33 minutes in the last game. He shot 18 times in that game, picked up 10 rebounds. He is a good rebounding guard, but not that good, but he only had 2 assists, so he's a better assist player than that. So he ended up scoring 41 fantasy points. Right now, if you just give him a 1.1 fantasy point per minute projection with all these guards off the court, give him 32 minutes in this game, he'll start to project out for the mid-30s at just 5,800. The 1.8x multiplier in Superdraft will also look very juicy, assuming, here we go, right, if Quickly and Payton are out. Number 7 play on the day is Shake Milton, and here's another if, and, or but. We're assuming that Ben Simmons is out again. We know Seth Curry and Joel Embiid are going to be out. Is Ben Simmons out again, who went from probable to out? That's pretty quick, right? He went from probable to out within an hour yesterday because of knee soreness. Is the knee all the way back better today, or do they just say, you know what, let's take it easy, we'll have a couple of days off after this, get yourself back and all ready to go? Either way, Shake Milton's going to look like a quality play, whether Ben Simmons is in or out at this $5,300 price tag, but he'll look even better if clearly there's no Ben Simmons. You lock in more minutes upside for him. You can start to lock him in for the mid-30s in minutes instead of just 30 minutes flat, right? Yesterday, Shake Milton, who's shooting guard eligible as well, went from about a 30-minute projection to 34-minute projection for me once Ben Simmons was out. He played 36 minutes in that game, shot 17 times, and scored about 34 fantasy points. And he did it all on actual scoring. He had 28 points in that game, real-life points, and only scored 33.75 fantasy points. He had a steal, 2 assists, and a rebound. He's going to pick up more peripherals than that. So this is the Philadelphia 76ers teams with just Seth Curry and Joel Embiid off the court. This is assuming that Ben Simmons even plays today. Shake Milton plays the second most minutes on the team. He averages a 1.06 fantasy point per minute projection, right? So that's what you're going to be getting per minute. But here's the big thing, 29% usage and 22% assist percentage. So this is with Ben Simmons on the court. So either way, he's a good play today at 5,300, and you can expect more than the 2 assists he got yesterday because of this 22% assist percentage. You're normally going to get like 4 to 6 assists or more. The usage is just going to spike even more. The assist percentage will spike even more if you indeed take Ben Simmons off the court. So Shake Milton is a firm and solid play no matter what happens with Ben Simmons today, and he only becomes like more of a close to lock if indeed Ben Simmons is out. Now into our top 6 plays in the day. Russell Westbrook at 10,700. Here's the deal. We have a lot of value today. There's no LeBron James, right? There's potentially no Ben Simmons, already no Joel Embiid on that team. There's value on a couple of different teams built in today. Lots of mid-range value in some of these guys like Markkanen, Sexton, Siakam, and Paul George, or Chris Paul, that we've already talked about. So Westbrook at 10,700. It is getting pricey now, but I want ceilings. I want ceilings and I want points upside. On a 6-game slate today, give me all the upside in the world. And Russell Westbrook supplies that. I mean, he's basically averaging a triple-double so far this season. You got 80-plus points the last time out. In bad games for Westbrook, he's scoring in the mid to low 50s. In bad games for him. This is not the exact same situation as Giannis yesterday, who we said 59.3 fantasy points. Oh yeah, he scores about 59 points and change yesterday, even with getting injured for a couple of minutes in that game. He was projected for 12 more points than anybody else in the slate. Now there's a lot of other pay-up options. You have Julius Randle, you have Damian Lillard, you have James Harden on the slate, you have Kyrie Irving. There's a lot of other options that have viable upside, but how many of them have that 70 to 80 point upside? probably 1 to 2 at most. So with Russell Westbrook, I want it to be more consistent. You're getting these 36, 37-minute games. You're getting 1.45 fantasy points per minute. I am waiting this because this matchup against Brooklyn is insane. Let's talk about the team totals here. A 118.5 overall team total for Washington today against Brooklyn. That is their implied team total from Vegas. And they are 9-point underdogs. They're 9-point underdogs with almost a 120 implied team total. There's going to be a shit ton of points in this game, a shit ton of possessions in this game, high overall pace metric right now for this game. If that's the case, Russell Westbrook is going to be absolutely fiending. So this price tag, it's completely warranted based on my projection right now. Into the top 5 we go, and it's going to be Markieff Morris, but I'll let you know right now about the projections, the rankings, the overall top plays that we have, top player pools as well. And now we have an optimizer as of March of 2021. So you're looking at it right here. We have an optimizer. I'll put it on the screen right now quickly for you to check it out. So this is the Big Energy Optimizer. You can check it out. It's a part of Patreon down below, and we continue to add new features to it like randomness per player. Let's put a quick build out there. So instead of paying, like $100 for a single optimizer somewhere else, you can get it now in some of the Patreon package for a greatly lower cost. I encourage you to check it out and try it out. You can just be setting some basic rules right here. The amount of lineups you want, total lineup ownership, randomness, which is going to be massive in terms of range of outcomes, max players from a team, salary, uniques. So that's some of your basic rules. And then you can go in and you can set up even more advanced rules by putting in player groups. How many guys from the same team, like today for the Los Angeles Lakers, you're going to be needing to probably put some groups in. How many of those power forwards between Markieff Morris, Talon Horton-Tucker, and Kyle Kuzma do you want in your lineup? Well, I probably want at most 2 of those guys in my lineup. So we can go ahead and you can set that rule right in here, at most 2 of those guys. There's a lot of power in a tool like this. We always go over it usually on the live stream, some of the top projected lineups as of that live stream during that point. But there's a lot of power in a tool like this. If you're playing even just 1 to 3 lineups, you can get an idea of what the top projected and optimal lineups because of a lineup optimizer are showing you. So it's really powerful for everybody. If you want to check it out, it's part of some of the Patreon tiers down below at a greatly industry low bundled price. So Markieff Morris is an interesting one. LeBron James is now out. So what happened yesterday, because LeBron James got hurt early in that game. I believe it was in the first half pretty early on as well. So he got more run with LeBron James out yesterday. He played 28 minutes, which in most games this year, Markieff Morris, he's played a couple 30 minutes, but it's normally in blowouts that he's getting a lot of run at the end. Yesterday's game stayed close. He's in the $3,000 range. I'm projecting currently Markieff Morris today for about 24 minutes of play. You can see on the screen, this is add more funds yet again, and I took off LeBron James and Anthony Davis. And this is the problem with this sample. It's not a lot of time. There's not a lot of time this year when Davis and LeBron have not been out there on the court. And if they are, it's only for a couple minutes a game, or it's in blowouts. And if it's in blowouts, you're not getting a true sample of what those guys are going to be playing like. But from the sample that we do have, we have 181 minutes of Markieff Morris with both of those studs for the Clippers for the Lakers off the court, and you end up getting Markieff Morris averaging 0.81 fantasy points per minute, which is not bad, and he averages about an 18% defensive rebounding rate, so it adds some stability to this. It's not just like he's a hot 3-point shooter or something. That rebounding rate adds some stability. So at 0.81 fantasy points per minute, if I project him around 0.84, 8.85 today, since we know the whole game LeBron won't be out there and more minutes will be coming, it's not bad. He's going to start to project out for the low to mid 20s. 24, 25 fantasy points today for Markieff Morris, even 22, 23 at just $3,900 is a very solid number. So he's going to be currently right now our number 5 overall play, and we'll even track the starting lineups to see if that increases. The number 4 overall play, Tobias Harris, assuming that Ben Simmons is out. If Ben Simmons is in there, it's honestly not the worst play either. Right now for Tobias Harris to pay off for you, he'd have to be scoring somewhere around like 42, 43 fantasy points. He could do that with Ben Simmons out there. He's done that with Ben Simmons out there. But if Ben Simmons is out, it becomes fantastic. I don't expect Tobias Harris to do what he did yesterday, basically, and get very close to a triple-double and score 60-plus fantasy points and be the number 1 guy in the slate as a power forward option, right? He ended up missing a triple-double by 2 assists yesterday, scored 61.25 fantasy points, shot 18 times. But a lot of things stayed the same yesterday. The only thing that changed was Tobias Harris shot 12 of 18, right? He shot 67% instead of like 50 or 40% in previous games. He ended up getting the double-double by getting 11 rebounds instead of getting 9 and 6 in the previous games. So not too much changed overall with Ben Simmons out. What basically changed was the usage flowed through him more, so he was able to fall into a couple of more of those rebounds. But he just shot better at the end of the day. But the good news if you're a Tobias Harris owner is that the price point dropped $200 since yesterday. So Tobias Harris is viable no matter what today. Is he a top 5 play for me if Ben Simmons plays? Probably not. But is he a top 15, top 20? Yeah, he's probably right around those numbers. So $8,600 with only major upside if Ben Simmons is out. With Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid off the court this year, you have Tobias Harris averaging 1.34 fantasy points per minute. If I give Tobias Harris 34, 35 minutes to play today at 1.34 fantasy points per minute, he's going to start to project out for close to 50 fantasy points at $8,600. Our number 3 play in the slate is Montrezl Harrell, and we can slide back over to add more funds here, and you can see that Montrezl Harrell plays the second most minutes on the team so far this season. That exact number is 270 minutes when there is no Anthony Davis and LeBron James on the court. And Montrezl Harrell balls the fuck out. Look at this number right here, 1.34 fantasy points per minute. Now it's a high number, but that's actually consistent. That's stable. He's doing this in actual times when LeBron has taken a seat so far this year. He gets a 28.9% usage rate. He's highly involved. He's the most used player on the team when those guys are off the court, and he sees in about a 19% defensive rebounding rate. Lots of upside upside for Montrezl Harrell here. If I give Montrezl Harrell just 30 minutes of play, right? 30 minutes of play might be a very low number, but 30 minutes of play for him today at just a 1.3 fantasy point per minute projection, he projects out for 39 fantasy points. He's only 6,500 today. His ceiling is absolutely massive against a Phoenix team that continues to struggle with DeAndre Ayton on the court. DeAndre Ayton has been bad. Dario Saric is not going to be stopping Montrezl Harrell today. And on the opposite side of that, neither of those guys from Phoenix are going to be drawing fouls out of Harrell, which can be a concern for Harrell's game on staying on the court. So at 6,500, a 1.4x multiplier in SuperDraft, both of those spots look great. I'm waiting to see what Montrezl Harrell projection on Prize Picks will be later today, but we like it, we like it, we like it. The numero dos play in the slate. Still no Kevin Durant out there. Blake Griffin's returning, but I don't really care too much about that. What did I say about Russell Westbrook? I want the upside in points and ceiling. James Harden supplies that. Oh, he only scored 40 points in the last game. I don't really care. I don't care about the last game. That's one game that you want to pick out of his last 10 games. One game out of his last 10 games where he doesn't play great. Where he doesn't play great overall. Got into some foul trouble, doesn't play great overall. He has a 127 team total. His team total against Washington today. 127 points have to be scored today. You don't think James Harden in that high-pace environment, high-total environment, lots of scoring, is going to take advantage of it? And oh yeah, here's the funny part. James Harden continues to be $10,900. Continues to be $11,000. In games where the team total was like 114, 115. Now it's 127 and nothing's changing in his price point. Clear mistake by DraftKings there. If you want to take his over 56 on Prize Picks, be my guest. I'm going to be projecting James Harden for right around 60 plus points today. So the over 56 is very much in play. I probably will end up taking it later today. I just want to see what some of these other props look like. But James Harden at $10,900, the similar case can be made for Russell Westbrook in that game. An insane game environment with two guys who have massive ceilings and also massive floors on this slate. And we're going to have enough value to be able to afford both of them today. Right now, that's where I'm leaning. And our number one play on the slate, a man who's going to help us afford those guys, is THT, Talon Horton-Tucker, the Summer League MVP, if you will. He played 15 minutes in the second half yesterday when LeBron got hurt. That's all I need to hear. Give me Talon Horton-Tucker playing 30 plus minutes, and that's all I need to hear out there. The games when Talon Horton-Tucker messes it up for you is when he only plays 22 or 24 minutes and doesn't shoot well, so he can't fall himself into rebounds and other peripherals and a lot of usage because LeBron's been out there. Now if he's going to average 15 minutes and a half with LeBron out, so if I can rely on Horton-Tucker, even if he doesn't start, but if he starts even better, even if he doesn't start, can rely on him for 28 to 32 minutes, and we can slide back out to add more funds. He plays the third most minutes on this team this year, 265, without Anthony Davis or LeBron on the court. And what does he do? He averages a 26.5% usage rate. He averages 1.15 fantasy points per minute and a 26% assist percentage. So bang, this is the thing that I love. The assist percentage is going to give him stability. It's going to give him a solid floor if he gets the minutes and a massive ceiling for his price point. At 4,200, Horton-Tucker does have 10x upside. He does have the ability to score in the 40s in fantasy points today. So Horton-Tucker is our number one play on the day today. Sal, where's Kyle Kuzma? He's close, but he's 6,600. He's close to the top 15-ish, top 20 range, right? There's other guys on this slate who are definitely going to be there. We're waiting on some news. We're waiting on those Knicks guards news to see what happens with guys like Alec Burks on this sheet. We're waiting on the Ben Simmons news, of course, but there's a lot of value on the 6-game slate. Again, the overall 10 games that are going to be played today, I'm going to project for all of them down below on Patreon if you want to see what I'm looking like for those first 4 games in the afternoon. But I appreciate you all tuning in today. Thank you so much for being here. Like, subscribe before you go, and hit that notification bell so you know when we're going live. A lot of love for all of you out there today. Celebrate the holidays. Wear a nice shirt. Pop the collar. Do what you got to do out there. And also support the sponsor of the show, Prize Picks. You want to use that code SAL. It helps the channel out. It helps your own pockets out. You get the nice deposit bonus. Right now, early on, I like the over 45 fantasy points on Nicola Vusavich and the over 43. If you already are watching this too late because those games started, well, then there's some nice other options for you as well. I do like James Harden on the over right now and also Westbrook, but I'm going to be waiting till later in the day for some more news to pop. But I encourage you to sign up and try out this platform. It's a player prop site where there are odds on some of these lines right now for fantasy points. I think I make better props than these guys. It's been showing in the Discord and for our own dollar Ruski deep pocket so far. So be sure to check it out and you can take advantage as well. You can check out that optimizer that we played around with a little bit. We play around even more in the live streams and all the projections and tools down below on Patreon, patreon.com/Sal_Vetri_. With all them plugs out the way, I need some more coffee. I need to run some errands. I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your weekend and a fantastic Sunday. Enjoy the rest of the day, gang, and I'll see you all in the next one.